Welcome to Soul Unscripted. This is my new kind of pet project. It is a video podcast where I just sit with others, spiritual seekers, entrepreneurs, conscious creators, whoever, for real unscripted conversations about what it actually looks like to live a soul aligned life. This is about no filters, no fluff. It's just really presence and truth. And so I am so excited to welcome my first guest, Aurora, here. And I think we're going to chat a little bit about something. I'm gonna let her begin and share a little bit about what she wants to chat with us today.
Okay, thank you so much for the invite, Lindsay. I really appreciate it. I was excited to talk with you today and just explore, because we have fun conversations together. But there's like really cool stuff about, yeah, the metaphysical and all that kind of thing. So my name is Aurora North. North is a spiritual last name that I chose for myself because of the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, but also because of the Northern Star. Um, because often when we're lost, we don't know where we're going. The Northern Star has helped ships sail to where they need to go for decades, millennium. I think that we all need a bit of spiritual direction. So that North is really meaningful to me in that respect. And I created a project called Soulful Traveler. I wanted an expression to coin to describe what I've been going through in my journey and what other people are going through in their journeys, because we recognize each other. So how do we describe that? So Soulful Traveler is someone who lives from the spiritual level. Their soul is talking to them, and that's a deep, profound level that they want to live with, basically. Um, and the traveler is basically we have experiences on the spiritual side, on the paranormal side, on the metaphysical, and even supernatural sometimes. Um, what I mean by supernatural is we are spiritual beings having an experience in physical bodies. Um, but we also have beliefs. We do have beliefs. There's been a lot of, push saying, oh, no, no, I'm spiritual, not religious. But the word religious, I find, has just been kind of beat down by the bad experiences we see out in the world. But there's the good side of that, because we all have beliefs. And during my lifetime, I grew up as a Catholic, but I was so curious about other faiths around the world. So during my soulful travels, I've met people of every faith, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, everything. I've just been so curious because we're all having a spiritual journey and metaphysical experiences. But it's interesting to see that viewpoint, like what your personal beliefs are, on top of, let's say, experiencing the paranormal. How does that change things? So I've had quite a journey. I've had spooky experiences since I was a kid, but as an adult, I jumped into the paranormal realm when my mother passed away. That was a major spiritual awakening for me and for a lot of people when they
Yes.
lose a parent. Um, so I jumped into trying to find proof of life after death. I became a paranormal investigator, and my background was actually into photography. So I was just recording everything, photos, video, audio, everything. But I started to have experiences when I was investigating until it became too much. I was like, what's going on? Let's check this out. And that's how I found out I was a medium, kind of like a backwards way to do it. So I studied mediumship for years. I became a teacher. I taught mediumship development and angel communication every week for a few years, and I've mentored hundreds of mediums on their journey. And I like especially helping beginners, who are lost. Things are happening to them. They don't know how to take control. So they're also soulful travelers. They're going through all these metaphysical realms, and some of it is really cool, but some of it is very challenging. Um, so these are the kind of soulful travelers that I connect to, like myself.
Mhm.
And it's okay to have these experiences, but there's a way to have experiences with feeling safe, with feeling grounded, and that's a big thing for me. I call myself the practical medium because I have an extremely logical brain. So when I discovered I mediumship, I'm like, okay, let's take it for a test drive. What can it do? Let's try them all out, all the clairs, all the intuitive senses, because I believe we can experience all of it.
Yes.
People are drawn to, like, sometimes they'll have two that are strong or whatever, but why not try it all out like a car, taking it for a test drive. Um, and over the years, I've put more tools in my spiritual tickle trunk to help people with their experiences and all the crazy energies that they're feeling along the way. So that's
I
pretty
love
much.
I love that. And I love the tie of the Soulful Traveler and the bringing in the North, right? Because you're
Mhm.
so right about that, just that direction and stuff. And I love too because I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I think for a lot of people have maybe done similar to you. I know for me, it really was like spirituality, like understanding that aspect or whatever of myself as more of a spiritual being kind of happened in reverse too. Like I, like you, was raised not strongly
Mhm.
Catholic, but I was raised, I went to Catholic school,
Yeah.
and so had that aspect, the church and the religion within school and all of that. But I never really quite felt like I connected to it. And I remember when spirituality came in, and then it was like, I kind of felt like I had to poo-poo religion. But I've since come, and this is my thing, is I feel like part of all of our journeys is coming home to our true north, right?
Yes.
What for us. And for me, it was realizing that every religion, every even in the newer age spiritual realm, we all kind of believe and accept that there is a higher power. There is
Mhm.
something, whether it's God, source, universe, whatever we want to label it, that's essentially what it is, right? And each religion itself is just another label for them.
Mhm.
And so kind of realizing that like it's all a little bit intertwined was part of my kind of, again, coming to my true north of being like, it can, like, there can be God and there can be the universe and there can be all of this
Yes.
stuff in one. Like, it can be together. We don't have to completely get rid of one to have the other. Like, you can be a spiritual being and still believe in something beyond. Like, I very much pull in the whole, very similar to you. And this is, I think, why we connect so well, is because we very much are bringing that spirituality down into the grounded third dimensional realm, like, because that's what we're here for, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you kind of go through your awakening, like, right, you really dove into the mediumship when you realized that ability. I know myself, it was like all these things and it became really overwhelming, and then just to come back home to, my soul chose to come here and experience being human. As much
Yeah.
as most of us think, why did we choose this? But we did. And so how do we do that, right? And so it's taking our spiritual gifts and
Yeah.
bringing them. So I love how you've married so much of it all together, which I think is really what we're meant to do, right?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. It's really a multi-dimensional experience we're having, because
Yeah,
we are living through all the dimensions and also all the dimensions of time and space. I really believe that.
yeah,
We have past, present, and parallel lives, I believe, that I've seen, that, others have experienced. So, what do we do with that? It's
yeah.
kind of like, it's like the magic, we tune into this magic, and it just gives us a richer experience on earth, from living from that soul level.
Yes. And you're right. Like, until we hit a certain soul vibration rate, we are actually living six parallels,
Yes.
realities, parallel lives at once. And some of them can be so so minutely different. And I
Mhm.
often, we sometimes tap into some of that in our dreams. Like what, our dreams where you think yourself, that seems so real, but it's slightly different than what your reality, like your life has been. You're often tapping into one of those parallel lives. Obviously, like if we're in the first and that's going to be vastly different.
Mhm.
But we are. And then once you kind of, again, as your soul vibration rate, raises, you kind of all of those merge together and you're truly just living in that one. But even beyond that, the whole time and space, like time is an illusion and
It is.
truly doesn't, we're
Yeah.
living past, present, and future all right now.
Right.
And so when you kind of like, again, so there's so many things that I remember learning and thinking, at some points, honestly, I thought that was crazy. I was like, that's insane. And then I started to
Yeah.
kind of dig a little bit deeper because that's, again, my analytical brain, like yours. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, this needs to make sense for human me. Because, yes, we exist at 10-dimensional levels, right? But like
Yeah.
our fourth dimensional mind and emotions and everything like that, like it needs logic. And so how do we do that? And I remember learning and then being like, oh my gosh. So if the time truly is an illusion and I can see that and I understand that now, like what a mind-bending thought, right? I mean, how many of these realizations do we kind of have when we realize there's so much more than we see. Like there truly is so much more than we see in our physical bodies and the things around us. Like, which all of this is just energy, it's particles. They're
Yeah.
just at the third dimensional level, they're so dense that they become
Mm.
something, right? And so when you
Yeah.
think of that, and again, if you think of the dimensions of you, if we're living, we're in 10-dimensional levels, each of us. Like it's just, again, it's in many cases or whatever, like I think about it and then I'm like, oh boy, like my mind in some cases can't compute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's spiritual overwhelm. That happens sometimes, like, wow, even when we are having super cool spiritual experiences, but it's like, whoa, mind blown. Where am I now?
exactly. I mean, I know for myself, I was like, I need more information. Like I just became in this whole, like I need to just bring in more information, more information, more information, which wasn't necessarily the best thing to do because then I got into the space where it was like overwhelm. And
Mm.
then I truly stopped tapping into like my true north. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know really what was true for me. So
Yes.
I really had to learn to tap back to my intuition, which, let's be real, I mean, I've always been tuned into, but I also was so tuned out from. So really truly learning, okay, that's my intuition and I can trust it and like all of the things, right? Which I think, again, I mean, all of our journeys, like we fumble. We hit roadblocks. We take 2 steps forward, and then it's like sometimes 10 steps back. And I always tell people too, it's like it's a spiral. Like we will circle
Yes.
back to things, but we circle back to them with a different awareness or a different understanding, right? And it's the journey. It's so much
Yes.
the journey. So um I really just truly love how everything for you, like it ties together so well. And how even like the mediumship, like you brought in the photography to that. Because at first when you're talking about it, and then you said that, and right away I was thinking, oh, of course, right? And the
Yeah.
paranormal, like, of course. I mean, you can watch, I mean, there's tons of shows about it and you can see, right? And what can be picked up on film that
Hmm.
sometimes even like we don't necessarily, or it's so quick with our own, to the, human naked eye, we miss and stuff. So gosh, your stories around that must be incredible.
Oh yeah, so much fun. I mean, I actually started a photographers group in Montreal, and I ran it for a good 8 years. I'm not the most professional photographer of anyone, but I would take we would go out and just shoot all over town, and we go on road trips. Sometimes we go to Ottawa or wherever, So it was just like wonderful, these technical tips and just the love of photography, that we shared. So I was still hosting photography meetups the same time I was doing paranormal investigations, and that was a really interesting mix there. And I started so long ago. I actually did start with film cameras, which you don't see at all today. But that was cool because sometimes you capture something on the paper,
Hmm.
things in the cemetery, like where do these strange lights come from? And one time I combined a meetup event with my photographers and my paranormal people, and we walked through the cemetery. And our photographers, we were taking so much time. It was, oh, look at this, and you know what? Everyone in the photographers group, all our cameras malfunctioned. Like it was just crazy. I had fully charged batteries, extra batteries are just totally blown. And I got weird, like different images on top of each other on the film. And this is like before Photoshop or any of that.
Hmm.
So that was fun. And then I enjoyed the digital, going to the digital, because there's so much you could do with that. Um, so that was my perspective of like of being the observer when I first went into the program. I was the observer, so it was like a step back. But when things start happening to you, you're like, whoa, what is this I'm sensing? You know? And I had one paranormal investigation that made me shut down. I had to shut down. I was overwhelmed by everything I experienced there. Was a extremely haunted old courthouse in L'Assomption, and it's a favorite place of investigators in Quebec to go to. And there's so many ghosts. It's insane from the attic to the basement, like layers. And there was just so much communicating with me. I was even alone at one point. I was alone in the main floor. The guy who used to host us for the courthouse was wonderful. He loved paranormal stuff. And he put nice tea out and little munchies and whatever. So my team went somewhere else. I was leading a team. I was all alone in this room. And it was like, a pot of coffee, whatever that you usually have, a pot. So I wasn't looking at it, and suddenly I heard a smash, like glass being thrown, like destroyed, and it came from the corner of the coffee pot, and I looked, and it was perfectly fine. There was nothing broken. I'm like, what the hell just did that? Um, and just I had so many experiences. There was a famous ghost in the attic who had run away from the army like 100 years ago, and he didn't even know that these wars were over. And I was talking to him and other there were mediums in our group who also saw the exact same thing. And he looked dressed a little like Che Guevara, from Cuba,
Hmm.
and he was in the corner, and I was trying to tell him it's okay now, you could come out, like the war is done, and it's okay what happened. Um, they found like bones in the attic there. That was another strange story. Um, and then there was an accountant who had a heart attack in the safe room, a teeny tiny little safe room. He was counting numbers for the business, and he had a heart attack. Nobody knew. And when my team we went, I just went to step a foot in there, and I saw this huge black thing, like a whole black cape, and it just zipped by me, and it was overwhelming. I had to like literally step the foot back out. I wasn't even in there. I'm like, whoa, that was like, anyway, there was like all this stuff happening. So I had to stop investigating because I'm like, okay, got to take care of this. And the thing is, a lot of young mediums, they don't realize that you can have boundaries, you can take control. So first thing I wanted is like, I want boundaries. I want to put the gate down, learn how to do this because I can't live this 24/7. Um,
No,
you know.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so many stories. As you're talking, it's honestly, I'm thinking about all the things like my childhood home.
Mm,
At one point, there was some strange stuff that happened, and I remember just being like brushing it off, right, as we do.
yeah. Mhm.
Even the home I live in now, when we first moved in, my daughter had some pretty crazy things that,
Oh,
like, you kind of, again, at that point in time of who I was, and again, very
Mhm.
closed off, uh,
Yeah.
before the universe kind of really thrusted it on me. But some of the things that she would even say and stuff or whatever, and I think to myself, like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
And do a little bit of the, oh, it's a child,
Mhm.
it's her imagination, it's all that. But now realizing that, like, no, there's
Mm.
like, that's not, what she was truly sensing. And she's actually incredibly tuned in and very gifted, so it
Mm.
would only make sense. And then since I learned that there was actually a portal way within my home, which is essentially
Oh
is like a
my.
spiritual highway, right?
Yeah.
It's a highway to allow things to
Oh
come
yeah.
and go and everything like that. So, but like you, I since learned, I'm like, okay, so we have control over, so I can shut that stuff off.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I too, learning fairly early on that I became super protective of
Mm.
my energy, not
Oh
my
yeah.
space, my home,
Yep.
my energy, and and everything like that. I had, so there's actually an area fairly close to me that is this little, I guess you could call it a town. It's more of
Mhm.
like a point, but within it there's this hotel that was once, I don't know. I'm trying to, in my brain, I'm trying to like put together the pieces again of the history. I feel like at one point it was a home of somebody. Anyways, there's definitely some paranormal stuff that happens. There's some ghosts, there's some things. So I went with this one group or whatever that they're all into the woo, and we had dinner and then we toured this, which is now a hotel. So it's a hotel, restaurant, everything like that. And wow. I mean, so I felt so strongly, which quite often I have since learned, again, it's like, what are all of my gifts? What are all of my, and
Mm.
we all have all of them. And I feel
Yeah.
like too, at sometimes some of them are stronger than others. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've had where I've been out for coffee with a girlfriend and all of a sudden, and I've said something, she's like, my mom used to always say that to me. And I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't just this random thought that like
Yeah.
came in and I feel like I
Yeah.
need to tell you. Um, and and I've had where I was actually on the phone once with a spiritual friend, and she was like, I don't know why, like I keep trying to, I'm like, no, that has nothing to do with me, like no relation at all. I'm like, I have no idea who this could possibly be, nothing. And then she said one thing and I was like, could it be this friend that I reconnected with? I lost connection with her through my marriage. Things
Mm.
happened. It was not
Yeah.
great. But anyways, after my divorce, I reconnected with her and I'm like, could it be for her? So I messaged her. I'm like, we only just reconnected. And I'm like,
Wow.
this might sound crazy, but XYZ. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was in tears. She then called her
Oh.
mom. It was her grandma. And her grandma was like, okay, Lindsay is talking to her. So I'm just going to like make it known and it's going to go through
Yeah.
her. And I'm going to not stop. Because
Mm.
my girlfriend was like, I can't continue. We can't have any more conversation until I just get whatever this is because
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
lady won't leave me alone. And so then my girlfriend, she sent me pictures of like things that were all, because I took the notes. I'm like, okay, I have no idea, but like, let's get it. I mean, obviously, this little old lady thinks that Lindsay's the path to what she wants, which then learned that I was. But just so many cool kind of
Mm.
experiences that even once upon a time I would have been like, that's a little bit crazy. But I've since learned that, again, because it's just, there's so much beyond
Oh
what we
yeah.
can see.
So
And
much.
but I feel like you would absolutely love this place. It's called the Briars, and the
Oh.
experience there,
Mm.
I would love to go back. They actually did another dinner. I wasn't available, unfortunately, so I couldn't go to it.
Mm.
And also that night that I went with another friend, and so we drove together. So, but they were like going to the basement, and the basement, I think, supposedly was
Yeah.
one of the, and she was like, I don't want to go. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll leave or whatever. I was like, secretly, I'm going, I want to go to the basement. This has been fun. Like, I'm like, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Obviously when we got into my car, we're like, okay, we're not bringing anything home with us. So whatever.
Yeah.
But there
Mhm.
was just, it was a very, very cool. a little scary because let's be real. But it was a very, very cool experience and even allowed me to kind of tap into stuff that I didn't quite, know about myself
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, it's just it's so cool and fascinating. That's all I think about the whole journey, right? Like as
Yeah.
we, as we open ourselves up more and as more of our gifts kind of come online, um, the experiences that we have, they're just really, really neat.
Yeah.
So, um, tell me a little bit about like now. What are you like? Because again, it's like we have all the pieces or whatever. Like, where are you at now? Like, what are you doing with all of that today? Like right now?
Yeah. Well, my gifts changed over the years. There was an intense period when I was teaching and I loved it. And I'm also a spiritual life coach, so I did one-on-ones as well. Um, I also kind of want to help people on a basic level. One of the things I'm really into is mindfulness and meditation. They're two tools that have not just helped me on my spiritual journey, but with your energy and emotions, at a basic human level. So I had, plenty of experience with mediumship clients, talking to clients, and I really like that clientele. But I took a break from all the paranormal for a bunch of years, was taking care of my health and other things. Um, but then I felt called to develop my coaching practice. And today, who I really like to work with is people who are grieving. As a coach, as someone who just holds space for people wherever they're at, because grief is a never-ending journey. And I think it's the hardest challenge all of us have on earth is to deal with death, is to deal with the loss of loved ones. So last year, very interesting experience. I worked in a funeral salon and I loved it. I loved the clients. That's what I really loved. And it was the only job I've ever had where they put empathy as one of in the job description, like you need to have empathy to do this. I never heard of it like, a mainstream business saying that, but it was true. The things I didn't like about, the pushy sales, whatever, managing all these accounts. But the clientele, I was so happy, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, we weren't counselors. We were helping people with the practical steps. What happens when someone passes away? Well, you have paperwork to do, have a funeral urn or, whatever your needs are. So that's what I was helping people with. And it just confirmed to me I want to be a grief support coach, a guide. I just can't help but reach out to friends or clients when I know they've lost a loved one. And people need that because, too often here in North America, like people rush in to say, oh, my sincere condolences. But who checks in like a few months later, year later, or 10 years later, because grief comes up all of a sudden. It happens to me. And that's why, because I had really difficult grief to go through with my own family members, I lost both my parents and my sister in Italy and wasn't able to go to any of their funerals. So what happens when you don't have a funeral to go to? You have to make your own rituals. This is a very basic level. It doesn't mean some spiritually elevated human being, but that's where I want to meet people at that basic level because I had help back in the day and I also created my own rituals. But this is what I'm developing right now is really to support people in the hardest challenge of their lives, really. And it's nothing complicated, It's just it's listening for the most part, and offering suggestions of how to honor the person, but also how to live your emotions. And that's why I think guided meditations really can help with that. And I've recorded some basic meditations that I've used in my mediumship teaching, but honestly, I use it in daily life. So grounding meditation, an energy clearing meditation, and an energy protection meditation, because we need all of that in daily life.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And I want to introduce people to these very simple tools, and there's nothing fancy about it. You don't have to be a grand puba priestess of the ninth degree to use these tools. You know what I mean? Sometimes people are so like, "Woo, I'm up there," and whatever. I'm no guru. So, I meet people where they're at, like, where are you at in your grief journey? Um, so that's really what I'm developing at the moment. I already have my meditations have been recorded for years, but I want to take it further. I'm developing coaching programs and a package to help people with survive grief, basically. Um, and this is what I'm fascinated about, because I don't know, I just feel for people so much when they've lost a parent or whoever it is, because I've gone through that. And I had to make tough choices. When my sister was passing away years ago, I had to make a decision. Can I go with her and be with her now, or when she passes away at her funeral? Well, of course, I wanted to be with her. And we just suddenly found out she was dying. There was like, she kept it from everyone. So I just landed a really great job at a cathedral in town, actually. And then here I am asking for some time off. I just literally just got the job. So I went there. I was super happy to spend this time with her. But I was also helping her transition. That's something that's not done a lot in some of our cultures, 'cause people fight against it. No, no, she was a single mom with two girls, and she did not want to leave them. But I told her, it's okay. It's okay. It's time. And I just talked to her very gently through the time I had with her. Um, and I also told her stories and made her laugh, because that's what I wanted to be my takeaway. My last moments with my sister, we still had great times. So I have those memories that I made on purpose. So, death, it seems very scary, but it's not, if you really pay attention to it, let yourself feel it, and just support people when they're going through it, because we don't, a lot of people just don't want to go there, or they have a complicated grief. A lot of people who approached me as a medium years ago, their family member died in difficult circumstances, and they wanted to know what everybody asks, are they okay? Right? That's what we all ask. And they also need support, like the situation I was in with not having a funeral. So I did things in town here to honor each loved one. And that's really what I'm all about these days.
How you marry everything that you do in one is so beautiful, because you are able to give them that comfort that they're looking for from their loved one. And you're able to support them in dealing with that, losing their loved one and the grief that comes along with it. Like, you know, and I feel like you can do it in such a beautiful way because you have that connection beyond here in the physical. And also, too, you being there, like being that support for your sister, and to transition, like to be able to know truly, like, here's the thing. I think so many of us, like, I know at one point or whatever for myself, especially like when I became a single mom, and I mean, all I
Mhm.
could think about is I can't leave my kids.
Yeah,
Like, and
exactly.
that's all that kept thinking in my head was I cannot leave my kids. Like,
Yeah.
I had to get to the point where it was like, okay, they're old enough, they're safe, they're provided, they're protected, all of that. Like, that was my biggest fear.
Mhm.
So I can see, like, for your sister,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, but fearing death when, you know, it's a part of life. Like,
Yes.
so just having you as that support for somebody who's you've been there through that process, and then to be able to come on the other side and to be able to like give them the comfort. And again, whether
Yes.
that's connecting with their loved ones to like
Yeah.
let them know or not. I had the most incredible experience in a session with a client, and quite often my sessions are just as incredible for me as it is for my clients. Like
Yes.
honestly, I've had things and I'm like seen so random and they're like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
So but I had a client who his dad had passed, and he and his dad were so super close,
Oh, yeah.
but his dad had passed, and this gentleman's wife, super spiritually connected, and after she came to me, like completely unlocked a whole other level of her gifts, which she didn't
Oh,
even really know. But he was like, she is so connected and all this, and he says, and like my dad's passed, and like I miss him dearly, and I've never gotten anything, she hasn't even gotten anything. And so by going in and doing his reading, I was able to see that his dad had actually not transitioned properly. So
oh,
he was a soul who was stuck in between
yeah.
because he didn't actually know that he had passed away. And that quite often happens when people have a traumatic death or they really fighting
Yes.
it, right, as well
Yeah.
too. So it's so beautiful that you were able to support your sister, to like let her
Mhm.
know that it was safe to go. But when somebody fights it, and so this is what it obviously, and so he shared, when I shared this with him, I'm like, so you have a attached soul, I'm like, I'm getting that it's like
Mhm.
family, like male,
Yeah.
like do you have a dad? And he was like, yes. And so as I said, then he shared or whatever, and so I said to him, I'm like, okay, well, this is why. And so he shared how his dad had passed, so it completely made sense.
Mm.
He messaged me a few days later and he says, I was on a run, which I used to always run with my dad. And he
Oh,
says, and my dad came through. And he
oh,
says he broke this gentleman, like we're talking, he was in law enforcement, like he was
yeah.
the man's man. And he said
Yeah.
he broke
Okay.
down on his run because finally, after years, his dad was there with him. And he says
Oh,
it was the most incredible experience. So, but I love how you have that ability to support people with the tangible, but also beyond in that
mm.
space, right? When they've lost a loved one and
Yeah.
everything. So, oh, so needed as well too nowadays. Like Aurora, I just love that.
Well, I love your experiences too. It sounds like you've had amazing experiences, and it's like an honor, to be a channel, to just like to be of service to people. You do so much with, the energies you work with and what you're able to tune into with the Akashic records and more. And it's yeah, I see that as like, wow, we're honored, by being able to do this. It's such healing work.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm
I,
just
I
tears at at the thought of this guy, this tough cop, just like breaking down and being so happy that his dad came forward. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And you're right. It's an absolute honor to do what it is that I do, to help people how
Yeah,
that I help them. I know you say like for you it's the same. Like I mean, it really truly is for all of us.
yeah,
And as I share, like quite often or whatever, I'm just as stunned as my clients are.
yeah.
So, but yeah, all the experiences, these are what shape, I think, not only us and
Mhm.
our journey, but also to like what we do and how we then help people, right? Like all of these bits and pieces all come together and how we help people. So I love it. Well, how how can people like connect with you beyond just watching this, if they're going through grief, if what you're saying is resonating with them and they're like, I feel like I need her support, like how can people get in touch with you?
Um, well, there's my website, but Facebook is like the best way probably. My Facebook is at Soulful Traveler, which is SoulFulTraveler, just one L on Traveler. Um, I also have another business. I didn't really mention it, but I have Montreal Tarot because I've also been doing tarot readings for about 30 years or so. So if you look up Montreal Tarot, you'll also find me under that on Facebook. I'm on Facebook all the time. Um, I'm on Instagram and other social media too, but Facebook is really
It's
the
your main.
best place to connect to me. And I'm under Aurora North, Soulful Traveler.
Okay.
And
Well, I will definitely put that in the description box to make it
okay.
easy for people to just be able to click
Awesome.
because that's, I mean, let's make everything, I'm all about like super
Yeah.
simple. So like let's make everything super simple for people. But I love that if your story, if what you do spoke to anybody, like let's make it
Yes.
easy for them to find you because I do like your what you have and what you offer is so needed in this world. So
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy we connected because you've helped my soul so much with the work that we've done together. You were very gifted, and I'm so happy that we got to know each other. I want to point out one thing. This is just kind of funny. Um, but you mentioned the True North more than once, right? And I just want to point out that we're both Canadians. And what does our anthem say? True North, strong
strong
and
and
free.
free.
So we are both True North, strong and free. I just love that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And uh, I I love that we connected and that, just so much has spun off from that. I truly believe that the people like the right people come into your life
Yes.
at the right times and when you need them and everything like that. So, I love that we have connected and that we are both Canadians. And
Yes.
I mean, Aurora was my hometown, so like, I was like, ah,
Yeah, it's
like of
pretty cool.
course. So just so many beautiful synchronicities between
Yes.
you and I as well too. So one of the reasons why it was like, okay, you have to be my first guest.
I'm so honored. I could believe that you wanted me to be there first. Thank you so much. I really appreciate today as well. It's been a wonderful conversation with you. It always is, but it's been a lot of fun today. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
you are so welcome, and I agree. So, well, thank you, and thank you everybody who has listened. I hope you've
Yes.
gotten little nuggets of just beautiful soul drops. And until next time. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.